Hey, it's me. Where do we live? It's not Japan, right? Well, there's a ninja at the door. Welcome everybody to Very Important Geeks, and today we're going to be talking about why, other than Naruto, the Atomos Ninja 5 is my favorite ninja. And before we get started, thank you guys so much for 500 subscribers. And if you haven't already subscribed, if you've ever done the focus stance, to make sure your autofocus was working, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that notification bell so you'll know when I upload more nonsense. This is going to be a high-level overview of why I think if you are a YouTuber or a videographer that the Atomos Ninja 5 is a worthwhile piece of kit. If you want a more in-depth review, I suggest checking out Gerald Undone's channel. He has a couple of videos that I think are really technical, really awesome if you're into that sort of stuff, and I'll link it below in the description. Now, I had resisted on getting the Atomos Ninja 5 for a long time because it's quite expensive. At $595, there are a lot of other cheaper monitor options that will do some of what this does. But, as I'll explain in a little bit, for all the features that it has, for everything that is done to my workflow, I think it is well worth the money. With all that said, I just want to go ahead and get it out of the way. This Atomos Ninja 5 will not make your camera do anything that your camera cannot already do. It will not make your video quality better per se. It will not make your camera record in 10-bit 422 if your camera is not capable of recording 10-bit 422. What it will do, however, is unlock the full potential of the camera that you already have. Now let's see what's in the box. Inside the box you'll find the instruction manual and the monitor itself, which is a 5.2-inch capacitive touchscreen with a 1920 by 1080 resolution. The body is made out of aluminum and ABS plastic, and it feels very sturdy and has a great heft to it. Looking further inside the box and you'll find the drive caddy, which you can mount the SSD into, AC adapter, and the dummy battery that the AC adapter fits into. Exterior controls include the power button, which doubles as a screen lock, a mic line, headphone line, and remote line, as well as an HDMI in and HDMI out. On the top and bottom of the body, you'll find an anti-rotation 1/4 inch or 3/8 inch screw hole. And now, if you don't mind a little monitor inception here, let's take a look at some of the monitoring features. You get things like 1:1 zoom, 2x zoom, RGB parades and waveforms, vector scopes, focus peaking, adjustable zebras, false colors, you've got cineframe, safe areas and grids, you've got anamorphic D-squeezes, and you've got black and white. Also, you can load LUTs onto here, which is great, and now it won't record in those LUTs, it will just show you a preview of what those LUTs will look like when you do apply them later on, but it's cool to be able to see what those LUTs look like live. You also have the ability to record in native, Rec 709, HLG, PQ, it's got tally lights, you can turn them on or off, and you can also flip the screen depending on what orientation you've mounted this. You probably noticed that not everything that you are going to need comes in that box. You'll still need a cable, you'll need an external battery, and you'll need an SSD if you want to record into it. Now, I've had the Atomos Ninja 5 for about 5 months now. Why do I think it's an essential piece of kit? For me, as a solo content creator, I have one camera that's about 4 feet away from me right now, and it's a Sony a6400, and even with the flip-up screen, it's a little difficult to tell if I'm in focus or not, and I just get tired of getting up and back and forth to turn it on and turn it off and start recording and checking focus. So what this allows me to do is I have my monitor right here, I can record from right here, and I can see my exposure or whether or not I'm in focus. Now, another major benefit is that I chose to get an external SSD so that I can record straight into this unit. I have a 256GB SD card in my camera right now that cost me about $64. I got a 1GB SSD for about $100 for this. So not only do I save money and get more, I save time by not having to constantly switch out my SD cards, and I can record for about 3 hours straight into this SSD. And one of the biggest ways it makes my efficiency better is that I can record in less compressed, higher quality codecs such as ProRes, Avid DNX, or H.265. And if you need, you can also record fully raw video as well. Now I use ProRes, and because ProRes is less compressed, it's a lot easier for my computer to uncompress it and allow me to work with it in my editor. Before, when I was working with the 4K footage, it was so jittery and jumpy, and so my only options were to either work with proxies or transcode it beforehand into something like ProRes before it would work easily in my editor. But now that I can record directly as ProRes, it saves me a step by removing that completely. I don't have to transcode, it's already recorded that way, and when my editor pulls it in to work with it, it's nice and smooth and doesn't get jittery or choppy at all. The Atomos Ninja 5 is also exceptionally bright, coming in at 1000 nits of brightness, so you can use that out in the middle of the day and not worry about not being able to see the screen. And since it's got its own external battery, I'm not using any of my camera's battery, wasting it on the screen that's on the camera. Now, one problem with some cameras is that if you're trying to record in 4K for a long time, you run up into around about a 30-minute recording limit. That doesn't happen on my Sony a6400, but I know for cameras like the Sony a7 III, that happens. But if you use a monitor like the Atomos Ninja 5 and do external recording only, you can bypass that limit and record however long the monitor is set up to record. And finally, just being able to see a high quality feed on the monitor makes you confident, makes you feel good that what you're recording is correct, so you don't have to spend time worrying about all the minutia and just work on delivering quality content, even if it's just this face. Sorry for the unnecessary close-up of this face. Well, that's all good. It's great, but not perfect. So what are the sort of things that you need to watch out for? So just something to be aware of if you have a Sony camera. I don't know if it affects other cameras, I only have experience with Sony's, but if you don't turn off internal recording, you lose face tracking autofocus in 4K. So make sure you do that if you want to keep the face tracking autofocus and externally record. Also, it can be a little loud. There's an internal fan that is designed to keep it cool, but if you have the monitor mounted to your camera and also your external mic close to the camera, you may pick up some of that fan noise. It doesn't really happen when it's recording. The fan is fairly quiet. I can't really hear it right now, but just something to watch out for as well. Also, it can get pretty hot. If you're doing a long recording session, the body of the unit gets a lot hotter than I personally expect. Now, the Atomos Ninja 5 also doesn't come with everything that you need to get started out of the box either. You're going to need a battery if you want to be mobile, and you're going to need an HDMI cable if you want to record into it. Now, they probably didn't package one with the unit because they don't know what your use case is. They don't know if you're going to mount it onto your camera and you need a short sort of coiled cable, or if you're going to be using it far externally like I am, and I have a 15-foot cable hooked up to it. So that's up to you. If you don't want to be tethered to a wall outlet, you're going to have to get a battery as well. And the Atomos Ninja 5 uses the NPF L series batteries. I opted for the highest amperage that I could find so I could have a really long battery life, but that's up to you. Any NPF L series will work. Another note about the HDMI cables. If you're planning on shooting 4K 60p, make sure the HDMI cable that you get is capable of carrying a 4K 60p signal. Not all cables on Amazon are created equal. If you do opt to record into it and get an external SSD, just realize that any third-party SSD is probably going to stick out. Like, I don't know if you can see that there, but it sticks out about 3/4 to an inch or so. And that's perfectly normal. That's how it's meant to be. The one that Atomos sells, the SSD that they sell, is a little more expensive, but it does sit flush with the unit. I personally don't think it's worth the extra cost just for it to sit flush with the unit. Now, while the screen itself is about 12 ounces, once you add in the battery and the SSD, it gets a little ungainly and can be a little heavy, and it pretty easily tips the scales at over a pound. And since the battery is mounted only on one side, it's unbalanced. So when you mount it to your camera, if you have a smaller camera, just realize that you're going to have to take in that shift in weight into account, especially if you're going to put it on a gimbal or anything like that where it has to be balanced. In the end, all the hassles and headaches that it has saved for me, all the efficiencies that it has added to my workflow have made it more than worth what I paid for it. And the fact that it can record up to 6K, it can record raw footage, makes me feel like it has some longevity. Like, if you get it now, even though it's already been out for a while, it will still be relevant for years to come. And I think that while there are a lot of options out there as far as monitors, certainly there are some that are cheaper that have a lot of the same functions, I don't think there are any that are as complete a package and as future-proof as the Atomos Ninja 5. That about wraps it up for this video. Folks, stay tuned. In the future, we will have some more hot swap videos and upcoming group buy news, some build videos, and if Sony ever gets around to releasing the A7 IV sometime this year, maybe? And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment, let me know what monitors you're using, if any. Hit that sub button, hit that like button, hit that notification bell. Support me on Patreon if you can, and until next time, geek out.